Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. If this is the first time that you're seeing me, I am the Hermit Tarot and this is my YouTube channel. I will give a quick little update on why it's taking me so long to get this reading out to you, what I've been doing, but before we get into that, I just want to explain what today's video is about. It is going to be a pick a group tarot reading. We're asking Spirit, what are your blind spots? And we're going to have a look at what your blind spots are in love, for friendships, with finances, and for success. Now, I've chosen to focus on friendship instead of family. We'll just see what comes out. That's the main sort of guide for today's general reading, and then we'll just see what comes out. There will be an extended reading. If the reading here on YouTube resonates, the extended reading could be for you. We'll be looking at how do people use your blind spots. So I wanted to use neutral language, but I was thinking of manipulative sort of tactics and how people might know your blind spots and how they might use it for good or for bad. So we're just going to keep it open, see what comes through, but we're having a look at how people use your blind spots in terms of lovers, family, colleagues, friends, children. I'm running out of fingers, clients, customers, etc. So I do have all of this information neatly typed below if you would like to know more about today's reading and the extended reading. If you are going to join me in the extended reading, the link is in the description box in the pinned comments. The link will take you to my website where I host my extended readings. So with that out of the way, just a quick little life update. Eclipse season has rocked me. Like, I don't even know how much I'm comfortable sharing on the internet, but I've got a lot going on in my life and I've had to rethink the way I'm doing the Hermit Tarot. It's been nearly 6 years now since I've been reading tarot for other people other than myself as a business. So with a lot of the changes that I've decided to make, I'm transitioning more into personal readings because that's where I get more out of the exchange. I don't really find social media fulfilling, and I'm trying to be honest with you because it's going to change the way that I treat this channel. I want my content on this channel to reflect intention, meaning, and my genuine desire to read. So I get all of that out of personal readings. I love the exchange, even though I can't meet all of you face to face. When I have a personal reading order, it just feels so much more fulfilling. And as a reader, I get a lot out of it as well, being able to get feedback and just learn more about my process. So personal readings are something that I'm prioritizing, and that's what I've been doing for the last 2 or 3 weeks now. And if I do post here on YouTube or Instagram, it will be a content or a group reading for each and every group that I feel proud of, that I feel fulfilled doing. So in the last 2 weeks, I haven't felt like doing this. I haven't felt fulfilling energy. I felt a void. It's just been a very draining experience on my end of things, and I think that's just social media in general. Like, it all clicked and I was like, wow, this is really tough. So if you would like a personal reading from me, do subscribe to the website and have a look at what I'm offering. I'm going to be restructuring a lot of my readings to be more topic focused, because what I'm noticing is a lot of people with the one question readings don't always know what they want. They just kind of have an idea, and then I have to fill in the gaps. But I think to make it a little bit better, I'll do like a soulmate or a future spouse focused reading, a career focused reading, and maybe like a life guidance focused reading as well. But that's where I've been at in terms of the Hermit Tarot, and that's why I haven't been posting as much. So when you do see me pop up and when you do see a video come through, best believe it is something that I feel proud of. It is something that I've put a lot of time into, and it is something that I have prioritized because I've got so much going on in my personal life, let alone for the business behind the scenes as well. So that's my little update. I'm going to take you into the pick a group portion now. This is the important part of the video. Make sure you're taking your time to select a group. Make sure you're really being patient with your process, whatever your process is. If you need help intuitively selecting a group, I will have a guided meditation playing right after this to help connect you with your intuition and guide you towards a group that you're feeling most called to, most drawn to. When you know where to go, click on the timestamps below, but here are the groups. This time around, I wanted to pick groups from a brand new deck that I've recently acquired by Adriana Ayales, and it's called the Herbal Astrology Oracle deck. You know, I do love astrology. I'm not an astrologist, I'm an astrology enthusiast. So I chose a card for each group from this astrology oracle deck. On the left, we have group 1 with the dandelion, also known as the wounded healer. I will show you a close-up of each of these groups as well. Group 2, you have chamomile, which is also the inner peace card. And group 3, you have blue lotus, which is also the intuition card. Here's a close-up of group 1. And here's a close-up of group 2. And lastly, here's a close-up of group 3. If you would like more intuitive help, I do have a guided meditation playing right after this, which is aimed at connecting you to your intuition so that you can intuitively select a group you feel most drawn to. When you know where to go, check the timestamps in the description box or the pinned comment and join me in your reading. To open your meditation, I'm going to ask you to take in 3 deep, mindful breaths. I want you to breathe in for 3 seconds and breathe out for 3 seconds. I will be guiding you through this. Make sure you're comfortable. Focus on the sound of my voice, and let's begin. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and out, 1, 2, 3. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and out, 1, 2, 3. Last breath. Breathe in, 1, 2, 3, and out, 1, 2, 3. From this relaxed place, observe the groups in your mind. It can help if your eyes are closed. Is there a specific color you feel most drawn to right now? Perhaps it was a phrase I spoke about in the intro. Allow your relaxed mind to guide you to a group you are being most drawn to. Remember, your intuition is not a loud voice, but it is a strong voice, and it knows which of these groups contains the most honest messages for you. Allow it to guide you through symbols, colors, objects, and phrases that will connect you with the group that holds the most clear, honest messages for you. If you need more time, pause the video or repeat this meditation. Hi group 1, and welcome to your reading. It is so lovely to have you all here. Before we get into your reading, I want to take a quick moment to acknowledge you and to fully witness your magnitude. Group 1, I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate your willingness to exchange energy at a time where energy is precious. Arguably, energy has always been precious, but It is so easy to lose energy, to lose momentum. And I hope that if you are here distracting yourself from your other priorities, your other responsibilities, I hope I can leave you feeling more centered, more connected to who you are, more focused on your sense of purpose, and more kind with those moments where you feel like you're getting off track. Life is about balance. I'm not trying to enable you because I'm terrible for procrastinating too, but I just want to appreciate how easy it is to get lost in the wheel, or whether that wheel is working or that wheel is distracting. So I appreciate you for coming here and exchanging energy with me. As we open your reading, I'm going to set my intentions as your reader. I highly recommend that as the viewer, you also set intentions. Consider what brought you to this reading. Do you have any blind spots you're already aware of? And is there any signs of confirmation you would like to see in this reading to confirm that this reading is for you? These signs of confirmation can be visual, they could be oral, or they could even be intuitive. So set your intentions, and I'm going to go ahead and open your reading. Spirit, please tune me into Group 1's energy. Please help me offer Group 1 clear, honest messages for their reading today. Sweet souls, I feel called to do this. I don't do this very often. If you've been watching me for a little bit, I haven't done this in a minute. I used to do it on my second channel every now and then. But I kind of feel called to do a little song bowl to clear some energy and to bring the right energy in. Angels, ancestors, and spirit guides, please come through clearly with clear signs of confirmation, clear messages about the topic that can help Group 1 navigate their life. Please help create meaning, connection, and clarity. Wowzers. So it's been a minute since I've done this. I know you're not supposed to talk over it, but I just want to say that there is a disconnect here between the song bowl, which represents your heart chakra, and the intentions of this reading. So let's figure out what that's about. Your heart chakra did not come through. And sweet souls, I'm a person too, so it could be something to do with me, but readings are not about me. So let's see what's going on. I kind of want to open your reading with a brand new deck that I have acquired. It's called the Herbal Astrology Oracle. I want more astrology decks. I've got 2 that I overuse, so I've gotten this deck in hopes of bringing some new energy into this reading. Let's see what it can bring us. Okay, brand new, literally taking the wrapper off. Some of y'all are not gonna like that. I know that you have a whole bunch of, we all do, we all have superstitions, but I'm a firm believer in energy and intention. So let's set our intentions and transfer the right energy into this deck. Spirit, angels, ancestors, and oracles, please connect me to Group 1's blind spot. What is Group 1's main blind spot in their life right now? What aren't they seeing? What is Group 1's major blind spot in their life right now, Spirit? Okay. Oh, how interesting. Look what's at the back of the deck. We have Angel's Trumpet, which is the death card in this deck. Are we focused? What is going on with this camera today? That's not too bad, is it? Yeah, I'm a little bit shaky. I've had 2 coffees, so that's on me for shaking. Number 46, number 26. We also have Jupiter. That's not Mercury, that's Pluto and Mars. We have Pluto and Mars over here. cordyceps, revival, wow. And then we have death reversed. Your biggest blind spot has to do with the way in which you naturally revive yourself from extinction, through change and transformation, and especially through hardships and challenges. With all of this Mars energy, Mars and Pluto are the dominant energies in these two cards. We have some Jupiter, which we won't ignore, but let's just focus on that dominant Mars energy, because Mars immediately overpowers every situation it's in. And with that card reversed and that energy in shadow, your biggest blind spot is that you don't know when to surrender. You struggle with letting go. And you have a tendency to take on too much responsibility, too much control, too much accountability for what has happened and for what could happen. Now, we're only looking at your blind spots. So what this immediately tells me is that you're a very motivated person. And when you want something, you go for it. These are all strengths. Only looking at your blind spot doesn't tell us about all the wonderful things that make you you. So I really encourage you, Group 1, to practice your discernment. Use these words to help fill in the gaps and really paint that overall picture of who you are. But don't let my words take away from your power, your strengths. And I want to say that you have the strength to be a very determined person, a very unrelenting, willful person. But when we address the question of your reading, your blind spots are surrendering and knowing when to let go, knowing when to allow the natural order of things to prevail. Death is a very natural thing. It doesn't mean that something will never exist ever again. It means that something has to change in order for something else to exist. Death as a process is about birth. It is about renewal, revival. With these two cards reversed, it feels like your blind spots are centered around the fact that you are afraid of what you can't control, and that you are afraid of surrendering to the natural order because there's no guarantees once it's out of your hand. There's no guarantees of what it could be. You prefer to have a firm grip on the outcome, and you prefer to know that you've done everything you possibly could. And even if you hit a wall, you don't like to be told there's nothing you can do. You've just got to surrender. You don't like to hear it's in God's hands. It's in the universe's hands. It's in Spirit's hands. That is very frustrating for you. And in some ways, you may struggle with faith and with spirituality and with having faith in a higher power, in a bigger plan. You may prefer to feel like life happens because you make it happen. You don't want to hear or know that life happens even if you try everything you can to change it. And for that reason, part of you may not really believe in destiny or fate. You may prefer to believe that life is what you make of it. Destiny is in your hands. And this is hard for me to deliver because I kind of am with you on that. I'm a very spiritual person, but I've had to overcome this as well as my own shadow. And it's not something that you overcome once. It's something that is a big part of my human nature. So it keeps coming back. So I resonate with this. And it's interesting delivering the message. We're just going to double check the guidebook to see if there is anything else that I may have missed. So let's start with revival. because that is the first card that I personally witnessed before I flipped the deck. All right. Cordyceps. I'm pretty sure that's a mushroom. Let's have a look. Feel free to pause and read it all yourself if you can. The way that this keeps focusing and unfocusing is crazy. All right. There you go, sweet soul. I'm going to pull it down now and read what I can to you. I'm not going to read it all. So cordyceps, there's the Latin name. In the reverse, reconnect to spirit, resistance to death, forgotten your power and weakness. So this is a traditional Chinese medicine, Tibetan medicine, an exotic caterpillar fungus or winter worm. It's a parasitic fungus that grows out of the head of mummified caterpillars. I thought I had heard about this before. It has been gathered at high altitudes, primarily in Nepal and Tibet. So far, there are over 1,000 recognized species of this fungus. So the benefits, it's a heal-all. All right, your guidance. It's time to soar to new heights. Energy is available to manifest your greatest dreams. Passion is in alignment with knowledge. Energy is in alignment with matter. Like the great eagle, you are blessed with the connection to the divine. Pause the video if you want to read this page. You have an innate ability to live in the realm of spirit, yet remain connected and balanced within the realms of earth. Heal your broken wings with love and seek a higher ground to observe the greatness of what you're made of. Interesting. So the eagle on this card with cordyceps represents your courage to channel your higher mind, the realm of illumination and higher consciousness. Your blind spot is about those moments in which you disconnect from your higher mind, from that part of you that is usually feeling fairly certain in who you are and what you're capable of. And that's a different level of confidence. We know with Mars being here that you can have a lot of self-confidence at the right times. You can channel it into an insane amount of determination. But it's also about having those other forms of self-confidence, because when we don't know when to let go and when to surrender, we are letting internal fears and insecurities impact our actions. So what is it about the process of letting go and accepting things out of your control that feels uncomfortable for you? Because first of all, that's a very natural fear. From the moment we are born, most of us are conditioned to have structure and order and routine and to follow rules that were designed for us. So to be told, oh, well, it is what it is, it's not natural to us. We've been conditioned to expect. We've been conditioned to have a clear design process. And when something doesn't go according to that process, you're just supposed to accept that. So I want to play devil's advocate and say that is natural, that fear. But is there anything else there in that blind spot that I'm not bringing up in this reading that you can personally note in your journal right now? What else is it about letting go and the feeling of losing control that triggers you? Where does that come from? Is it a fear? Is it an insecurity? Or is it a shadow from a past hurt that you've mislabeled as fear, when it's really just something you need to be more aware of? Well, when I was 5, this happened to me, and now I like to have control in my life. Okay, well, that's not fear. That's conditioning. And once we take fear out of the equation, we can name that condition and recondition ourselves to react differently, so that instead of feeling fear, we feel, oh, okay, this is my previous conditioning taking over. Here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to tell myself I'm not 5 years old anymore. I've been through so much since that happened to me. And now when something out of my control happens, I'm going to use my wisdom and my grace to figure it out. And if I feel overwhelmed, I'm going to reach out to my community. I'm going to reach out to a professional, but I'm not going to take it personally because it's not that big of a deal. I'll get through this. So let's have a look at the angel's trumpet. The angel's trumpet. Okay, it does feel really good in this energy, I'm not going to lie, because these are all things that I've personally dealt with, but these are all things that I've personally helped others with as well in my last job and in this job. So I hope that this reading is helpful for you, but as always, find your own clarity as well. If you need to do any additional research, if you need to reach out to a professional, do that. I'm just here to help guide you in the right direction. So for Angel's Trumpet, here is the first page if you want to... Why is it? Goodness. There we go. If you want to read it all. Sorry, my camera lens keeps switching like that. I've got to hold it there for a bit longer for you. Pause if you want to read all of this. And the last page. Pause if you want to read all of this. Okay. So in the reverse position, the themes are ignoring the call, mental and emotional crisis, illusion, shattered, refusing reality. Goodness. So angels' trumpets have an intoxicating scent. And we actually have a version of this in Australia. I don't know if it's native, it's probably invasive. But seeing that it comes from South America, maybe it got here when we were all a part of Gondwana. Because I do see this, different colors, but we do have the same sort of flower. And it's a vine, it's not a tree. So I don't know where the tree came from. So the flowers resemble angelic horns aimed downward, symbolizing the call of the angels to humanity. Those are big themes. So it has a rich history of use among shamans and magic practitioners, even though they are poisonous. Okay, so it is about becoming a healer. Healers with many traditions incorporate angel's trumpet into master plant brews like ayahuasca, to enhance astral traveling and the spiritual experience. My mouth is so dry, so I'm sorry if I'm talking weird. It's a very weird feeling of like my lips are dry, but my mouth is making too much saliva. And that's like similar to some of the side effects of ayahuasca. So maybe we're a bit too deep in the channeling right now. Other cultures around the world, including in Tibet, have also used these important poisonous plants within their practice. Many caution against the thoughtless use of brumancia and datura, which can be severely toxic and cause the kind of strong hallucinations and delirium that only experienced shamans should use. So please don't try to create your own brew of this. I will not be responsible. I'm just putting that out there. Guidance. Angel's trumpets signals a time of catharsis or death. A deep emotional breakdown is due or near. You may feel lost in your own emotional despair, depression, shame, or unworthiness, but know the angels of discernment and darkness are here to support you. Coming eye to eye with the darkest feelings within yourself catalyzes the greatest awakening. Deeply pause, let go of control. Ay, Dios mío. That's exactly what we were talking about. Witness the broken pieces within yourself with loving awareness. The medicine of the bat symbolizes the need for a ritualistic death of relations, situations, or aspects of life. Bat, like trumpets, angel's trumpet, signals catharsis and rebirth. Understand that you can reconstruct at any time, regardless of how shattered you might feel. Wow, big themes. I could elaborate for days, but that's not the point. We got to answer some specific questions now. What are your blind spots in love, friendship, success, and finances? Okay, I'm going to pull a tarot card for each. And we're going to go from there. I'll clarify if I need to. I've been using more of the Rider-Waite deck just because I love that straightforward symbolism. But I will be getting more decks soon as well, just to bring some new energy into the channel and my personal readings. All right, so Spirit, for group 1, what are their blind spots? Can we get a card to signal their blind spots in love? Thank you, Spirit. And what is their blind spot in friendship? Okay, can I get one more card? And what is their blind spots in their success? And what about with their finances? Okay. The back of the deck is the 10 of Swords. I'm just going to pull this out a little bit. I don't know why my camera is doing that. It's like, yeah, it's not really, I don't know how to describe it. Oh well. Hopefully it's not too bad. But for me, it just looks like it's not focusing properly. Anyway, all right. So the bottom deck energy will add more to each of these cards, as this is the undercurrent that helps provide more information, more context. I do want to start with love. When it comes to love, a major blind spot that you have when you're pursuing love, when you're feeling love, and when you are engaging in your romantic connections has to do with priorities. You have a tendency to get carried away when you feel love and when you're feeling romantic feelings for someone. And it feels like this blind spot is also about knowing how much to invest in relationships, whether they are becoming something more or whether they are temporary. And even relationships that have been in your life for some time, you've got to be careful about misplacing your priorities. So it's coming through in two ways. I want to talk about the long term first. In long-term connections, you have the tendency to misplace your structure in your relationship and outside of your relationship, and it can affect long-term plans. It can mean that over time, your relationship begins to develop habits and patterns that you didn't really want, but you weren't paying enough attention. And so all of a sudden, something is happening because it's become a pattern that was left unaddressed, and you get really uncomfortable and aware of it, and you start to feel either trapped by that behavior or very uncomfortable by it. Whereas the person that you're seeing is going, well, this is how we've always treated each other. This is what we've always done. This is how things have always been. So it's almost like time moves differently when you're in love and when you're feeling romantic feelings. And before you know it, a relationship develops on the foundation of habits that you didn't actually want to create. It's like you accidentally created sentimental traditions or guidelines, and you're like, well, actually, no, I don't like that. I don't value that. I don't want this to be normal within our relationship. I don't want us to do this whenever something big happens in our lives. I want us to communicate. I don't want us to avoid each other. I want a meaningful, stable connection. I don't want us to just come and go whenever we please. So your blind spots in love have to do with either not investing enough of the right effort and time into your love life, or at times not correcting the energy, the actions, and the behaviors so that they eventually become guidelines and unspoken rules. In short term, this feels like you have the tendency to get carried away and to lose yourself in your romance to the point where you may use your love life as an escape, and you may see your love life as something that happens without you really trying. It just kind of has happened. It's an interesting feeling for somebody who values control, because it doesn't feel like this is in your control at all with the Two of Pentacles reversed. It feels like you have the tendency to just let one thing lead to another, and then before you know it, it's turned into something without you meaning it to. So maybe some of your relationships have started without you even meaning to. You just accidentally got into a relationship. You just accidentally ended a relationship. You just accidentally started seeing somebody. You just accidentally started messing around, and then before you knew it, you hurt somebody and you're like, what? I didn't even know we were dating. So this is very interesting of a feeling based on what we saw in the first part of your reading. It also tells me that when it comes to love, a major blind spot you have is knowing who to give time to. You may have turned some people into partners who were never supposed to be partners. You may have kept some people as casual when they were really supposed to be more than that. And so it feels like you have the tendency to misplace your lovers and accidentally prioritize them in the wrong order. Clarifying this energy, we also have the Six of Cups. So the thing about you and love is that when you feel love, it is unmistakable. But you are somebody who can find love anywhere. Can I just say that? Like, there's a part of you who can really see redeeming qualities within anyone. You can find love anywhere. So it's important that you don't rush falling in love, that you don't rush forming significant and meaningful connections, because with the Six of Cups here, your inner child seeks love actively. Your inner child romanticizes connection. And your inner child projects memories. So your blind spot is that you have the tendency to choose lovers who remind you of something from your childhood, either like your first crush, could even be the qualities of one of your parents. But the Six of Cups is that Pluto energy coming back to us, telling us that one of your blind spots in love is projecting something within you onto a person outside of you. And I feel like once you're done, you're done. Like, you have a very critical way of looking at people. And once you're done, you're done. You just can't see past. It's like once you get the ick, that's it. Once you get the ick, that's it. So that's what I'm seeing for your love life. When it comes to friendship, we can see with the Six of Pentacles that one of your major blind spots is the tendency to overcompensate with friends. And this is because either you want connection more than them, or because you're not always trying as much as them. So it does feel like this goes one of two ways. Because it's the Six of Pentacles reversed, sometimes you don't give as much as you should with your friendships, and friendships take work. Friendships are even a little bit more challenging than romantic connections, really, because a friendship can end without anyone breaking up. You can just decide not to reply one day, and that's apparently normal. You can just agree that you're going to do something and never do it, and that's normal. Whereas if it was a romantic connection, there'd be bloodshed, there'd be a price to pay. We'd be feeling very cheated. But with friends, you may feel like people expect more, or that you are expected to do more than what you're comfortable with, because you get into this dynamic where it's not balanced. You're owing each other time and effort. You may even develop friendships where there are finances at stake here. I'll get you this time, you pay me back next time. But because of your habits, because of your distracting or your distractions, there isn't a next time until a month later. And then that person is left going, wow, they really just went to lunch with me once this month on my dime and never paid me back. So look, it doesn't have to be about finances. That's just an example in this general reading, but your friendships aren't balanced. You're either always in debt and you owe your friends more time, more effort, or you're feeling like you've done more than you actually wanted to. You gave more than you wanted to. You did more for them than you wanted to. And they just expect more from you than you should give. So this disharmony does come back to self, but it also comes back to the ways in which we correct those behaviors. There's nothing wrong with having a difficult couple of weeks, but if you know within yourself that you're somebody whose lifestyle is up in the air or whose capacity is always fluctuating, 1 minute, yes, you have a lot of free time, next minute you're very busy and your time is precious. That is something you may need to work on and find ways to communicate more so that your friends are aware and aren't feeling cheated or aren't feeling like, well, why is group one pulling away from me for no reason? We spent all day together yesterday and now I haven't heard from them in 3 days. Well, maybe it's because you, group one, didn't even want to spend all day together and now it's taken you 3 days to recharge, and every time you open their message you just feel drained of your energy. So setting healthier expectations that are more realistic and finding ways to communicate that. You don't need to write off people, but people need to know where they stand with you, and you need to understand what you are able to give. You need to find ways to communicate that, because friendships are work. It's a lot of work, and maybe you're somebody who just likes to keep a small circle anyway. You don't like to have too many people around you anyway, but you still need to prioritize communicating with those key people. You can't just get away with changing and not communicating, because then that's putting them at a disadvantage, and that's taking advantage of their kindness, their charity, their goodness, and that could lead to resentment on their end that they're not communicating with you, but they're keeping tabs. So that's something to be aware of with friends. When it comes to your success, whenever you're pursuing success, experiencing success, or on the road to success, whether you're pursuing it or not, the Ace of Cups reversed indicates that your blind spots are about connecting your success to your personal, emotional needs. For some reason, when it comes to success, the word itself leaves a bitter taste. Success doesn't feel emotionally connected. Like your emotions and success don't seem to match. And this kind of feels like it could be because for you, success has something to do with well, it took me a lot, and now that I have it, I don't even care. Like, I don't even want it. Because of that Mars energy and your unwillingness to surrender and let go, once you experience success, it feels like it leaves you empty inside. And Spirit's saying that's not the point. That's not success. You have accidentally misidentified success. Because being successful is not about how much money do you have in your account. If that's the way that you define success, you're in the wrong place. Because from a spiritual standpoint, success is about your lifestyle, it's about your relationships, and it's about your relationship with self. And in order to be most successful, those key areas of your life should all feel successful. And that's why the cliche of enjoy the journey, it's not the destination, it's the journey. That's why we say those things. That's why so many proverbs and old sort of texts bring that up, because if you're willing to sacrifice your relationship with self, your relationship with others, in order to get your tangible, material, financial success, then you're experiencing this emptiness inside once you get there. Well, who are you celebrating with? Are you actually even proud of yourself? And success may have something to do with it. Success then comes with the very expensive price of genuine care, genuine relationships, and people who will be there to love and support you regardless of what you have and how much you've made. And so your blind spot in success is about allocating time in your journey towards success to water yourself and your relationships, to ensure that you're taking care of yourself and your relationships, and to make sure that your journey to success isn't getting the best of you. Because you will feel most successful if you are able to enjoy the journey towards success and the success itself. So your blind spot when it comes to pursuing success and creating success is about bringing in your own emotional needs. When you come up with your plan, when you set your intentions, be clear and incorporate plans and intentions for your emotional needs. And you may find that with your Mars and Pluto energy, you work better when you're seeking revenge. Like you might be like, I work really well when I feel hard done by. That is when I'm a monster. That is when I'm a force to be reckoned with, and nothing can stop me because I have so much to prove to myself, to society, to other people. That's fine. But at least incorporate in this plan for revenge ways to honor your feelings, your emotional needs. Push yourself and then treat yourself. Find ways to honor yourself throughout that process. So that is the Ace of Cups. I'm just going to see if there's anything else I missed there. I felt pretty confident with this card. That's why I didn't clarify it. King of Swords. Yeah. There's a lot about success for you that largely comes down to mindset and the choices that you make. Your blind spot is in the scope of your decision making. You're so good at stepping up, taking accountability, taking initiative, mustering courage, mustering willpower, overcoming challenges, overcoming adversity. You do work well under pressure. When you want something, you don't give up. But to be most successful, your decisions need to be in consideration of everything in your life, not just that one area that you're targeting, but how is your pursuit of that one target area, that one successful outcome, impacting every aspect of your life? That will help strengthen your relationship to self, making you more wise, more aware, more perceptive, and more balanced. But it will also water your close connections, because when people see you giving time to them, they feel included in your journey, and they feel a part of the future that you're creating. And they also feel better informed on how they can support you, because they know what's going on in your life. And any healthy relationship will want to know a way that they can support you and repay what you've been giving them. So that is your advice for your success. When it comes to money, finances, and the ways in which you pursue finances or you interact with finances, with the Strength card reversed, some of your blind spots are in relation to an impatience and see, this is interesting. It feels like when you have money, you give it away or you don't earn it honestly. So I'm going to address this in sections. If you're self-employed, you need to ask for what you are worth. You need to charge what you deserve. If you were the accountant, just the accountant of the business that you were running, and you were objectively looking at the books, and you had a close understanding of the amount of artistry, labor, time, attention to detail that was put into the products and services that you're offering, what would you charge? Because if you're self-employed, your blind spot in finances is that you cut yourself short. You don't value yourself properly. And it's hard, speaking from experience, it's hard knowing how to appropriately build a financial pricing, because you want customer satisfaction. You don't want to make it a numbers game, but you are putting in an honest amount of work. So you need to have better self expectations, boundaries, and you need to have the courage to ask for what you deserve. That's what this is about. Now, the same can be applied to any situation in your finances. For those who are in jobs, this card indicates to me that you are willing to really make a challenging situation work. And when it comes to money, you're very resilient. You're good at struggling with the Strength card reversed. But that doesn't mean you should. It means that you should recenter, recalibrate, and really reflect. Take your heart out of the equation for a second, because if you're a good person, you don't need to actively insert your heart into the decision-making process. It will happen naturally. Your heart will shine, your compassion will come through. So take your heart out of the situation for a second. Let's bypass the heart. Let's go to the head. Logically, when it comes to finances, there's an energy here of self-sacrificing, of putting yourself behind the needs of others, of a willingness to give more than you should, to be more generous than you should. And we've seen that here as well. So it's really important that when it comes to finances, you are finding balance by claiming what you deserve and meeting those expectations. If you do choose to go above and beyond because you're a creative person and you like to experiment, and some months your creative flow is just flowing, allocate that in your finances. Incorporate that into your fees, your prices, your contracts, your timesheet. Now, the other side of it is, with strength being here, you're also a group that really burns out because you put too much into things and you're not getting enough back. If you were getting paid for what you're doing, you probably wouldn't burn out as much. There is a lot that goes on behind the scenes with you and money, and there is an inconsistency in the cycle of energy being given versus what you're getting back when it comes to finances. So when you burn out, you need to prioritize rest. You need to prioritize activities that help you recharge, that help you feel energized. But you also need to prioritize reflection so that you can learn from what caused you to burn out, and so that you can get back into that cycle where you're working to the best of your ability and getting recognized for it. You have an incredible work ethic, but you burn out because you tend to put yourself under a lot of pressure, and then you get frustrated and overwhelmed by the amount that you're taking on. So really, all of your blind spots come back to this 10 of Swords reversed. The purpose of this reading for you, Group 1, has been to help you stop those catastrophic endings from happening by helping you identify the warning signs along the way, so that instead of feeling immense disappointment, instead of feeling very betrayed by your circumstances, by yourself, you're able to recognize, oh, this is what that Australian tarot lady was talking about. This is where I need to intervene before it gets worse. These are those blind spots that she was mentioning. And you may be well aware of all of this because tarot has a funny way of pointing out what we already know. But this reading is to really affirm that these blind spots contribute to a lot of the recurring challenges you experience. So by being more aware of these blind spots and by taking more notice of them as they pop up, you're able to intervene with your actions and change the course, so that in some cases these challenges never happen. I hope you found this reading helpful, Group 1. I'm going to leave it there. We're going to go into your extended now. Here's my scrolled out piece of paper, but you can find this typed neatly below if you want to read along. In your extended reading, we're going to have a look at how the people in your life use your blind spots, for better or for worse. We'll see what comes through. We're going to look at lovers, family, colleagues, friends, children, and your customers or clients. If you would like to extend your reading with me to gain these additional messages, the link to your extended reading is down below. It's really important that when you click on that link, you look for your reading. That link just takes you to a page where I host all my extended readings. So find your Group 1, What Are Your Blind Spots extended reading, and double check the description, double check the title before you pay anything. Thank you so much, Group 1, for your time, your energy, and all of your support as we part ways, and especially if you're not joining me in the extended. I wish you peace, prosperity, abundance, happiness, health, wealth, success, and joy on your journey ahead. Bye. group 2, and welcome to your reading. We are going to be asking Spirit, what are your blind spots? I have more information about what you can expect in this reading in the description below, as well as the pinned comment. Before we get into that, I just want to take a quick moment to tune into your energy and to appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much, Group 2, for letting me be a part of your journey through life, through love, and through friendship, success, and finances, which is what we're specifically covering in today's video. I really appreciate you for being patient with me in this reading as I navigate the messages that come through. I appreciate your desire to seek clarity, and I hope I can give you the clarity that you need, or confirmation that you already have all the clarity that you need. Above all, I hope to empower you, to help you believe in yourself more, and to help you trust yourself more, so that you can continue to empower yourself, discover yourself, and truly create the version of yourself that you're most proud of. I believe in you, and I thank you so much for believing in me, at least enough to listen to me do that whole spiel. So with that being said, let's go ahead and open your reading. I'm going to set my intentions. At this point in time, I would encourage you to also set intentions, consider any questions you have or why you felt drawn towards this reading. Also consider setting signs of confirmation that you may need to see or hear in order to confirm that this reading is for you. Oh, let's get into it. Spirit, angels, ancestors, and spiritual team, please tune me in to Group 2's energy. Please help me offer Group 2 clear, honest messages for their reading. Thank you. Interesting. That was pretty quick. Usually I have a whole other thing that I say, but I didn't need to this time. Let's see. What does that mean? We'll start by shuffling this card. And we're going to have a look at, overall, objectively speaking, what are your blind spots? Spirit, for my Group 2s, what is their major blind spot? What is Group 2's main blind spot? There we go. We have Rosemary, Ancient Memory. At the back of the deck is Tulsi, Wealth. Wow, look at this merging of culture. So, key things I'm noticing. We have the Sun and Mercury over here, but we also have Mercury here as well with another fiery energy, Jupiter. Both of these cards have a connection to information, which is interesting because I felt like that was an important part of your opening message. You feel like the kind of soul that seeks information, or that should continue no matter how intelligent you feel, no matter how happy you are, no matter how stressed you are, no matter what you're actually feeling or experiencing. You should always be seeking information. You should always be asking questions, and you should always be putting yourself in the position to receive further clarity, further insights, further wisdom, because your subjective experience as a human being is about expanding your mind, expanding your experiences, and also expanding your personal success. Because it does feel like as you mature and as you go through certain experiences in life, and as you naturally get older, you will redevelop and redefine what is important to you, how you measure success, and the things that you're working towards. Ultimately, it feels like a full circle moment. When we look at the Sun, for example, we can see that symbolism where, I don't want to draw on this card, so I'm going to just push them to the side. If we imagine you in the middle, right? That's you. let's go over here. This is you as a child. Your experiences as a child carry you over until you're a fully fledged young adult. And by then, you've gained more experiences, you've gained more wisdom, you've gained more insight, more information, more personal experience, but you've also had a lot of people telling you along the way that this is how you should do life, this is what you should do, this is what I learned, learn from me. And so after being a young adult, you transition into the next stage of your life, which is where you're expected to be much more independent. It's rare that adults, unless it's a cultural practice, have that level of modeling and mentorship when they're expected to be independent. It is either a cultural practice or it's a family practice, but society expects adults at that stage in life, let's say you're about 40, to be more independent, to have a certain amount of experience with life, to where if they're not independent, then they're actually at a point where they're modeling their behavior to others. And so you can see how the relationship to self, to information, and to others changes so much already in those 3 different stages, let alone those 2 key quarters where you're going from child through young adult into independent adult. I would argue that the next stage is like a huge moment where you're still technically this independent adult, but there is a late turning point which really humbles your ego. That's the whole point of this. It humbles your ego. And I'm not saying everybody's life is like this, but life tends to happen in these ways. We go through so many challenges as a child going into a young adult. Our body's changing, our hormones come into play, our social structures start to break down or get redefined. Our view of the world changes, our brain fully develops. So much happens here, and we think, okay, we did all of our growing here. That's what we think we did. We did all of our growing, we figured out who we were, and then we get into this chapter where we're going from 18 or 20 to 40, and we think, geez, life really got in the way of us. We had to do a lot of sort of wisdom learning in this chapter. We were growing here. Now we're just going from young adult to independent adult. We're just gaining a lot of wisdom and life experience. But somewhere between going back into being like a child or an elder, somewhere between there and here is a turning point. And it's not a clear quarter. I just did this to show those key stages in your life, but there's the turning point where after everything you've been through, no matter what age you are, after you've had to contend with all of these external expectations of your parents expecting you to be some sort of child that lies in their vision of you, to you figuring out how to meet certain external expectations with your teachers or parents, but also wanting to be your own person, to having to raise your own children and try to be your own person and be a fulfilling partner. There's a turning point that happens here in the circle of life that really shifts your ego. It shifts everything that you were attached to. It shifts everything that you define as important, and it ultimately helps to give you another perspective of who you are, what you could be, and what you might want to achieve before you get to this elder stage where your body starts to turn back into the dependent child that it was. So I feel like your message is connected to that metaphor of the circle of life and how it is a full circle of starting from a very dependent stage, fighting for your independence here, almost feeling overburdened by your independence here, having to redefine your independence here, and then coming back into a more dependent stage there. Now, it's not a clear-cut design, and I'm not suggesting that you take this and center your whole life around it, but it's just an interesting way of looking at the cards that we pulled for you, because rosemary is a very ancient herb that many old ancient societies use. And you can find it in a lot of different continents, but the key rosemary that we use nowadays comes from Europe, as far as I'm aware. I'll double check with the astrology book, but it comes from like North Africa and the Mediterranean. And each continent has a version of rosemary. Even Australia has a version of rosemary that is native to Australia, technically speaking. But the herb of rosemary has even been described in the Bible. Like, it's a very old medicinal herb. And I think the point of this card is to say that the key themes in your blind spot are centered around how your ego and view of the world can sometimes stop you or block you from seeing the bigger picture, especially with the way that these two astrology symbols are right next to each other. Mercury loves information. Mercury loves research and knowledge and communicating. And the sun, on the other hand, really loves to give us the human experience from our perspective. It's kind of a way of looking at yourself throughout your lifetime. It can form part of what makes you fulfilled, but it can also reflect a specific point in time. And in tarot, the Sun card is often connected to your childhood, your innocence, or your unfiltered sense of joy, because there's something about the sun that feels, especially with the circle, like a full circle moment of taking you back to a stage in your life where you're more innocent and reminding you not to hold on to things too personally, because really that's the nature of life. Life moves through seasons, and the sun, for example, we as a planet experience the sun cyclically on a regular basis. It gives us daylight, it hides behind us, and we get the moon, we get the night, and then it comes back. It's a very important part of our life on Earth, and in astrology, it's a very important part of our identity. So it doesn't necessarily solely define who we are, but it is an important aspect of who we are as a human and in this human experience. So I think that your blind spot changes throughout life, and it is a reflection of being blinded by what you know instead of seeking what you don't know. So with the Tulsi Wealth card here, the only other thing I would add is that overall, before we really get into the nitty-gritty, your blind spot has something to do with your passions. When you're passionate about something, excited about something, you put all your attention and focus into it, you put all your desire and drive into it, and it can stop you from seeking information objectively. You can get very subjective, very immersed, very obsessed, until you put so many filters on what you're seeking that you're not getting a quality of information. You're getting a very specific type of information. This is a classic case of ask specific questions, get specific advice, whereas it is in your best interest to cast a broad net and consider looking at things more objectively. Let's see what I'm missing in the guidebook. We'll start with rosemary. And feel free to pause the video if you want to read all of this. But I'm just going to read out the key messages. So upright, Rosemary's themes are remembrance, ancient memory, multidimensional sight, recollection, commitment, and loyalty to vision. Yeah, rosemary has been used medicinally dating back to the ancient Greeks and Romans in 500 BC. Dried sprigs of I think it was from way before then. Yeah, dried sprigs of rosemary even showed up in Egyptian tombs as early as 3000 BC. Yeah, so definitely an ancient herb. And I'm pretty sure they used a lot of rosemary. Anyway, we do see North Africa and the Mediterranean here. I didn't want to finish that train of thought because I'm rambling with you guys, so we're just going to focus on the key info here. So, it became the symbol for fidelity for new lovers during wedding ceremonies and was used in religious rites and at funerals. So even today, rosemary is used to improve memory. Legend has it that the Virgin Mary, mother of Jesus, as she fled from Egypt, sheltered next to a rosemary bush. She threw her cape onto the bush and the white flowers turned blue. Since then, this precious herb has been called the Rose of Mary. And there she is, in all her glory. Ruled by Mercury, the planet of the mind, and the sun, the planet representative of our base ego and superego, rosemary embodies this holy connection, the mind of the ego to the superego, the higher mind. This card signifies past feelings and emotions are resurfacing from deep within you. You may find yourself remembering and accessing ancestral memory that resides within your DNA. Rosemary assists us in healing through multidimensional sight, reminding us to use the power of vision to see beyond the constructs of everyday life. Don't disassociate or get consumed by the veil that broadcasts emotional imbalance. Call upon rosemary as a guiding light to see beyond the veil of confusion and stay committed to the vision that moves you. Oh my gosh. Anyway. So, a little bit catastrophic, but that's Mercury for you. Not always, actually. I don't want to paint that picture on Mercury, but for me, Mercury has a very distracting presence in my chart. For you, Mercury is reminding you to tap into the wisdom within your body, within your experience, and within your spiritual vessel, which indicates that as a person, you carry a large energetic footprint from previous incarnations, if you believe in that. If you don't believe in that, I see this as ancestral power. You have the DNA of your ancestors, which you can tap into and use to regurgitate wisdom that they experienced, experiences that they overcame, that they unlocked, that they contended with in their lifetimes prior to conceiving the next ancestor that led them closer to you. So this could indicate that knowing who your ancestors are and connecting to them culturally, socially, through practice could be beneficial for you. It could help you feel like you have a stronger sense of self, a stronger identity, and a more informed way of living. But let's have a look at what Tulsi says as well. So feel free to pause the video if you want to read this all yourself. And here's the other page as well. So Tulsi says, well, the card indicates key themes are true wealth, prosperity, charismatic, vivacious, luxury, beauty, auspicious. In the ancient Vedic text, the Bhagavata Purana, the Queen of Herbs, is noted as the plant embodiment of Lakshmi, wife of Vishnu, and known as goddess of wealth and generosity. In Hindu mythology, Tulsi is regarded as a living gateway between heaven and earth and believed to be a manifestation of the divine within. Along trade routes from Asia to Europe, Christians used Tulsi in rituals and called it holy basil. Oh my gosh, I've seen this plant. Wow. Ayurvedic texts date the use of Tulsi as herbal medicine as far as 5000 BC. And I apologize for my pronunciation. I do not mean to take away from the beauty of this language or the significance of the words with my terrible pronunciation. Hopefully it's not too distracting. There is a lot of helpful information here, but we are going to focus on the fact that this herb is primarily used to aid your nervous system and your respiratory system. Tulsi embodies the archetype of Mercury, the great communicator who governs our conscious mind, perception, and understanding. So this goddess, Tulasi goddess, sits proudly facing her peacock, symbolizing heaven on earth. She raises her arms with grace. The fountain is centered between the goddess and the peacock, representing the wellspring created between earth, the manifest world, and heaven, the spirit world. Peacock embodies the medicine of auspiciousness, magic, and beauty, reminding us that we are the living gateway to the greatest of mysteries. Tulsi is here today to teach that the key to Jupiter's doorway, abundance and wisdom, is to live, create, and communicate from a place of wonder, innocence, and impeccability, rather than doubt and confusion. Don't be fooled by material possessions or the vanity often worshipped in the material world. Tune in to deeper realities that abound around you. Be spontaneous and celebrate your temple just as you are. A big part of this card is about looking after your body as well, and doing what you can to preserve your body, which I think is very interesting. Let's have a look now at your blind spots in love, friendship, success, and finances. Spirit, what is group 2's blind spots when it comes to love, friendship, success, and finances? What are their blind spots, Spirit? Let's start, with love. What are their blind spots in love? Group 2. We have the 2 of Wands. And what about friendship? What are their blind spots in friendship? Oh, we got 2. Don't really have room for 2 cards, but we'll make it work. And what about success? What are their blind spots in success, Spirit? Wow. And can we talk about finances? What are their blind spots when it comes to money? The Queen of Cups. At the back of the deck is the 6 of Wands. We'll pull this back just so you can see everything. Okay. Just going to wipe my nose. I can see straight away that your blind spots have a lot to do with your ego. And you may not be a very ego-driven person, but there are times where your attention and the things that you are passionate about can lead you away from what is truly important. And the only reason I'm using these words is because what is truly important is defined by your values as a person, your heart space, what you feel, and the wisdom of your experiences. If you could step outside of yourself in those moments where you get carried away, you would look at yourself and you would go, what are you doing? Why are you acting like this? This isn't you. But in the moment, you get caught up in the heat of it all and a little bit carried away with the temporary feeling, the temporary desire, the temporary excitement, the temporary validation of others. And these moments feel very hollow when you reflect on them. At the time, they're exciting, but when you reflect back and really look at them for what they are, they actually feel very hollow. So let's break it down. Let's start with love. Your blind spots in love are connected with your ability to or should I say your inability, because you're a human being like me, to see ahead. You're sometimes very quick to call something a spade before you've given it a chance to show you what it truly is. So you've got to be very careful about projecting expectations onto your love life and onto your love interests when you're either pursuing love, thinking about love, or engaging with people romantically. You have the tendency to get a little bit carried away with your own expectations and to plan things based off of what you want, what you see, without letting the other person show you who they are and what they want. So it's really important that when it comes to romance and building romantic relationships, you take it at a step and at a pace that feels natural for both of you. It takes two to build a friendship, a relationship, a future based on partnership. It takes two. So it's really important with this blind spot in mind that you observe the times in which you're overstepping the other person's independence, and you correct yourself to let them show you who they are, what they want, and how they expect the connection to progress. This feels like you just get a little bit carried away, or you can come across as a little bit even pushy because what you want is so clear to you, and you want it to be clear to them as well. This is very Aries energy. It's very my way or the highway, and it's a little bit stubborn because on one hand it comes across as very zealous, very eager, very keen, but on the other hand it feels premeditated. And for somebody just meeting you, they could be thinking, how do you know that we're going to have a future together? We don't even know each other's middle names. They could be going, how do you know I'm that type of person when you haven't even asked me a question about me? You've just looked at me on the outside and assumed that I'm like that. So you have the tendency in romantic connections to project your expectations. It's really important that you're aware of that blind spot. It has something to do with one of your most meaningful connections in your life. And it's not a bad thing. We're only talking about your blind spot. There are a lot of wonderful strengths that come out of that, which I did mention, that zealousness, that eagerness, and that sense of drive and clarity on this is what I want. But if you aren't careful, it's a very one-sided plan that doesn't allow room for the other person to be a part of it. So that's what I'm seeing when it comes to love and what your main blind spot in love is. When it comes to friendship, how crazy that we got two cards. The other thing is we've got the number 2 again. So at this point in your reading, these numbers are especially significant when it comes to your blind spots. The number 3, the number 19, the number 2, the number 9, and the number 6. For friendship specifically, your blind spots seem to be about regretting things and wishing that you could either have foresight instead of hindsight, or wishing that you paid more attention to your intuition and to your wisdom. So it's likely that when it comes to friendship, you feel like you miss red flags, or you misread the situation, or it could even feel like you give people too many chances, and when you look back, you see all the warning signs in those friendships. It can also feel like you sometimes misread your friends, and this could even lead to pretty big breakdowns in your friendships, where it feels like you've missed out on something really important to them, or you didn't necessarily say the right thing to them at that time. Or it could feel like when you really need them, they're not really there for you, and you're going, well, why? What did I do? And then you look back and you realize, oh goodness, I did a lot actually. Well, there are a lot of signs that this was going to happen. This is an interesting blind spot because there are regrets here. But what you're regretting, you can't change. So instead of helpfully reflecting or evaluating throughout, you get to a point in those friendships where you feel like you've done a whole bunch of things that you regret. Instead of along the way assessing the relationship or friendship and going, yeah, I feel pretty good about where it's going, you get to a point where you go, damn, how did we get here? So it could feel like when it comes to friendships, with the High Priestess here, you seem to encounter the same lessons. And as somebody whose main message was about seeking experience and wisdom from your experiences, your friendships perfectly highlight why this is important, why you should reflect and evaluate and learn from your past, or risk making the same mistakes within the same friendships and within new connections as well. That's a very interesting blind spot because it feels really hard. Like it's a tough learning curve. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that. I'm talking about messages that have to cover so many layers that I often get disconnected from the feeling. But in this situation, I can see how this blind spot is one that causes a lot of pain in your friendships, and it seems to bring about cycles of even anxiety, like social anxiety. This is the kind of experience that makes it difficult for you to want to make new friends. You don't want to meet new people because it could take you very long to trust somebody again. And it could take you a lot of internal processing before you feel ready to bring somebody into your inner world. I think that you're somebody who values friendship and community deeply, but you learned that there's a lot that goes into social connection, and that different people's different social agendas aren't always genuine. Some people use friendship to get things that they want. And for the High Priestess to be here, it feels like this blind spot is about knowing when to keep your secrets versus knowing when to share them. So at some point in your life, it feels like you will learn that even your closest friends aren't always worthy of that title. Friendship is something valuable. It's built on trust, on fidelity, loyalty, compassion, and kindness. And at some point in your journey, you learn that some people only want friends because they want to look popular, or they want to look successful, or they want to look a certain way. They don't actually value friendship by the terms that I listed. They value the way it looks. So this is a tough lesson. And that is how that blind spot impacts your friendships. So it's really important that you take time between those horrible experiences to reflect and evaluate, so you can gain the wisdom, build more trust within yourself, build more wisdom about the human experience, so that when the next friend crosses your path, you can identify them based on what you've processed. Well, this person's very different to my last bestie. They're a very different kind of person. And the way that they talk to me, the way that they treat me is very different. So maybe they're not all bad. Maybe friendships aren't all bad. Maybe I can trust some people. But it's important that you don't let your past define your future, as all of these cards indicate. So let's have a look at your success. With the Queen of Swords here, your blind spot when it comes to your pursuit of success, your experiences of success, and the way that you work towards success. is that you tend to, again, get a bit tunnel visioned. We saw this in the beginning. I spent nearly 20 minutes talking about it, small regrets, but when it comes to success, with the Queen of Swords here, it's important that you keep an open net so that when you're seeking information, when you're asking questions, you're covering all bases. Your version of success seems to remain quite consistent throughout your life, and your inner child, who you were at your most innocent, arguably vulnerable and naive stage in life, holds a lot of answers about how you define success and what could make you feel most successful, most happy. And that vision is carried with you throughout life. Your pursuit of success feels very singular, very subjective, very defined by who you are. But the way that you gain success feels like it's so subjective that it sometimes misses the bigger picture. And the Queen of Swords loves looking at the bigger picture. The Queen of Swords is very perceptive and has the ability to really focus in on key areas, on key information, on key subjects. But the power of the Queen of Swords is in their intelligence, their ability to be perceptive, step back, get more information, and then pick a point of view. Now, we already know with all this Mercury that you are an intelligent person. Your level of intelligence is defined in many different ways. You're likely to be somebody who becomes academically intelligent, in that you would do well with trivia, with knowledge that is assessed. If somebody asked you a question, you would probably have many different ways of replying with different ideas and information. But you also have an intelligence that is gained through experience. And the Queen of Swords encourages you on your journey of success to stay open to that information. Don't get so carried away with facts, evidence, and academic knowledge that you forget to process and seek experience as well. And the Queen of Swords says that this blind spot helps you gain a better understanding of what is out there for you. What could you possibly achieve in this lifetime? What opportunities could you pursue? What strategies could you use to overcome your challenges? What people could you reach out to for support? If you're so isolated by what you think the right answer is, you're not allowing yourself to explore what other right answers are out there. And that's the risk of following a subjective path with specific criteria when it comes to success. What if success is bigger than the criteria? What if success is more than that path? What if your inner child was guiding you to a bigger purpose, to a bigger version of success, but instead you took their interpretation literally and pursued it too subjectively? Does that make sense, group 2? I'm going to have to move forward. Lastly, your blind spot with your finances. So this is whenever you're working with finances, interacting with money, or working on finances in any area of your life. Your blind spot is centered around being able to separate your needs from those around you. It seems that when it comes to money and career goals or financial goals, you tend to project importance based on the emotional needs of the people around you, whether this is your children, your partner, your loved ones, your family. You do handle money with a level of, what can I do to make their life better? how can I use this to better support them, to look after them, to do this for them, to make them proud, to... And it just feels like with this card reversed, although you may have a very clear idea of what success means to you, when it comes to bringing money into the equation, you feel like money is better spent in other people's hands or on very emotionally invested situations. Like there has to be a meaningful reason for it. Now, you may have some guilt around making more money than your family or than your parents, because it feels like if you were to receive a large sum of money, you wouldn't really know what to do with it. There would be certain things that you say because you've heard other people say it, but I think you would end up spending a lot of it on other people. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing, but that in itself is very curious because it's not helpful. The Queen of Cups reversed indicates that a lot of your finances and a lot of your money is used to enable the emotional compulsions that you feel, which means that some family and friends know that your good heart makes it hard for you to set healthy boundaries with money. It's very easy for them to come to you and to expect from you financially because you're in the business of giving at the expense of your own emotional needs. So the relationship with your finances directly correlates to the challenges that you have with personal boundaries, the challenges that you have with giving too much to your personal relationships, and also correlates to the challenges you have with taking care of yourself first. You're very altruistic. And instead of taking time to intrinsically figure out why, it makes you feel better to give or blame it on somebody else. So I do wonder with this Queen of Cups reversed, if this blind spot is bigger than money. I don't think it's about money, but what you don't see is that a lot of your decisions financially are emotionally manipulated. When you spend money, and a lot of the ways in which you make money are at the expense of your own emotional needs. So it could even include the fact that you're likely to stay in jobs that don't deserve you, that take advantage of your goodness and that expect more from you than what you're able to give. You could have the tendency to work in places that are very emotionally draining and that constantly challenge your personal boundaries. But a job is a job, bills got to get paid. So you get used to that sort of dynamic and it translates into how you spend your money. You may also just have a lot of responsibilities and therefore a lot of your money goes towards other people, but not much goes towards your own emotional well-being, and not much goes towards beneficially supporting the ones that you love. Most of your money is made and spent on emotionally enabling bad, imbalanced behavior in your personal relationships. So instead of those people learning to rely more on themselves or learning to take care of themselves first because they're watching you model that, they're seeing that, hey, if I get group 2 on a bad day, I'm likely to get more money off them than I could probably earn from work in a day. So It's a very crazy dynamic. I kind of want to clarify it just so we don't close your reading on such a raw, hard truth. Is there anything else that I'm missing with this Queen of Cups reverse, Spirit? What is Group 2's blind spot when it comes to finances? Okay. Oh my God, you're joking. You need to start prioritizing your own financial freedom, your own financial goals, your own financial plan, your own career, your own studies. The chances of that are like so slim. It's only happened to me a handful of times. I could count on one hand. It's crazy. So the message is what it is. Your biggest blind spot when it comes to your finances is that you self-sacrifice. You over-empathize and you enable imbalances in your personal relationships. It's time to start claiming your success and to claim the rewards for your hard work. And it's time to use your work ethic, your intelligence, and your commitment, because you're somebody who can get really locked in and committed to something once you're interested in it. Use that to get to where you want to be and to build a more stable relationship with your finances, one that doesn't hinge on other people's over-dependence on you. They seem to rely on you in ways that enables dependence, and you've gotten used to that as well. So, to summarize, Group 2, your key blind spots revolve around you being able to draw on your wisdom throughout life. As you go through those key defining stages in your life, it's important that you don't project your past into your present. Stay open-minded, seek information, seek clarity, seek answers rather than projecting experience. Ask questions, stay curious. Remember that we're all active learners in the game of life. We're all students. No matter how old we get, no matter how much we've been through, life can still teach us so much. Try not to project expectations on your lovers. When it comes to friendships, take time to process the ups and downs of friendship so that you don't repeat mistakes and continue cycles of regret where it feels like your friends aren't people that you can trust. By learning from experiences, you can create more meaningful, more trusting, and balanced relationships. When it comes to your success, it's important that you keep your eyes set on the sky, stay perceptive, stay open-minded, don't get too tunnel-visioned and locked in. And when it comes to finances, recalibrate the relationship that you have with money by putting an emphasis on your needs first, on your emotional well-being, and on making sure that people aren't being overly dependent on you. That is what I'm seeing for you, Group 2. I'm going to end your YouTube reading here, and we will go into the extended. In your extended reading, we're focusing more on the relationships in your life, having a look at how people may use your blind spots. So we're going to look at lovers, family, colleagues, friends, children, clients, and customers. The point of this extended reading is to get a better and bigger understanding of how these blind spots affect your life by looking at how the people around you see these blind spots and what they do, whether they take advantage of the blind spots or whether it's the opposite and they actually try to help you navigate these blind spots. For Group 1, the extended reading was really insightful. It helped them understand more about the types of relationships they're likely to build in this lifetime and what to be aware of so that their relationships are more solid, more meaningful, and higher quality. So if this sounds helpful for you, the link to the extended readings is in the description box and the pinned comment. Make sure you select Group 2 when you click on that link. Double check before you spend any money that you're buying the right reading. And thank you so much, Group 2, for your time, your patience, and all of your support here on YouTube. I appreciate you for letting me figure this out with you. definitely rambled a lot in the beginning. I think I might have foreshadowed that with the way that I opened your reading, but I appreciate your patience. Until we cross paths again, I wish you peace, prosperity, abundance, happiness, health, wealth, success, and joy on your journey ahead. Bye. Hi Group 3 and welcome to your reading. It is so lovely to have you all here. We are looking at your blind spots in love, friendship, success, and finances. Now this reading should be interesting. I've just finished doing Group 2's extended reading and it definitely went to places that I wasn't expecting, but I hope that the YouTube version for you is also something that's very enlightening. Now, without rambling too much, I'm going to take a moment to acknowledge you and witness you. So thank you, Group 3, for being here. I appreciate this energy exchange. I appreciate your time and your energy. I feel like you don't have a lot of time, a lot of free time nowadays. So I appreciate being a part of your schedule. And I hope that you are finding time for yourself and that this reading does help you with that goal, with that personal goal of finding ways to prioritize you, what you need, and the things that you aspire towards. I definitely feel like life has the way of getting the best of us in general, but I also feel like the things that you're working on are very important to you. So I sincerely hope that the goals and the aspirations that you've been committing a lot of your time and energy towards do show signs of success soon. And I hope more than anything that the challenges and lessons or even redirections are guiding you towards something even bigger than you could have possibly imagined for yourself. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and set my intentions as your reader. I highly recommend you do the same as the viewer. Consider what you're hoping to gain out of this reading, what drew you to this reading in the first place. Do you have any questions about the topic, about your love life, about friendships, about your success, about your finances? Is there something there that you're hoping that I will address in this reading? And also consider setting signs of confirmation. Is there anything you need to see or hear in order to claim this reading and know that it is for you? With that being said, let's go ahead and open your reading. Spirit, please tune me in to Group 3's energy. Please help me offer Group 3 clear, honest messages about their blind spots today. Angels, ancestors, and spirit guides, please come through clearly with honest and clear messages about Group 3's blind spots in love, friendship, success, and finances. Please help me clearly inform, confirm, and direct Group 3's attention towards the key information they need. Thank you, Spirit. Okay, let's have a look. We're going to start with a new deck that I have. It just came this week. I love astrology decks, but I needed more, so I ordered this one. Let's get a card that tells us what your blind spots are in general. So Spirit, what is Group 3's blind spot? What is their main blind spot in life? Whoops. Spirit's indicating that your blind spot tends to grow with you. It's not the same thing throughout your whole life. You have to relearn how to address it and how to work with it or overcome it or use it as a strength even. Now, is that all square? Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm just going to bring the camera a little bit closer and let's have a look at these energies. So the first thing I'm noticing is the numbers on these cards. We have Rue, which makes me think of Euphoria and the character Rue. We also have the number 4, protection. And then we have some strong Leo energy with this lion. We have the Sun and we have Pluto. Yeah, this definitely feels like Leo energy for sure. Now over here at the bottom of the deck is Rhodiola, which is a card that came out for another group as well. We also have the number 37 and we have enchantment associated with this herb. Now, actually it's not really a herb, it's more of a plant, but we'll get to that. The astrology signs are Uranus, and we also have Mercury, so a lot of air over here. Uranus does bring a magical sort of energy if the unicorn didn't already. So we have some sort of like, well, enchanting, almost unique, otherworldly energy here at the back of the deck. And then over here we have your ego, your sense of self, and how you identify yourself and how you want others to see you throughout your life. This is an interesting blind spot because both cards are reversed. So I don't think that your ego and your identity aligns with your blind spot. I think that your blind spot is about the other side of you, like your shadow self, except it's like a completely different side of you. It's not a side of you that you even want to know. You don't want to associate yourself as that person, and you may spend a lot of your life feeling like your blind spots are your weaknesses, or they're the parts of you that you feel even ashamed of. You don't want people to see that side of you. And this feels like a pride thing just because Leo's here. It feels like your blind spots are a reflection of sides of you that you're not proud of, that you don't want to be known for. And you don't want people to see that side of you because it makes you vulnerable, it makes you feel weak, and it even reflects your struggles. And you don't want to be defined by your struggles. You don't want to be defined by your challenges. You don't want people to hold you to that version of you. You want people to see you as more than that. You want people to see you as what you've accomplished, not what you've struggled through. So you may be somebody who tries to keep your blind spots separate, or you may spend a lot of time feeling unwilling to even acknowledge these sides of you, as though like it's not you, it's not me, I'm not that person. And look, if you're a public figure in any way, you may try to keep this side of you out of the public eye. You don't want the public and people that you don't know personally knowing this side of you. You don't want them seeing this side of you. Now, this tells me that to some extent, you are aware of your blind spots. Your blind spots aren't unconscious, they're subconscious. They're things that you have had to confront at key moments of your life, but they're parts of you that you don't want to accept at certain points in your life. They're parts of you that you try to overcome and challenge and not even focus on at certain points in your life. So we can see with rhodiola here that a key blind spot is the ways that you... This is interesting. I'm going to have to take a moment to figure this out. Mercury and Uranus are trying to explain something here. This card is all about being very unique and intelligent. Your blind spot is that you can't possibly know it all. You can't possibly have it all figured out. You can't possibly plan and prepare and claim every opportunity out there. And you can't make it all happen in this lifetime, which may be very hard for you as somebody who feels like a star. From a very young age, you may have felt like somebody who was different, who was special, who was intelligent, who had what it takes to be successful. But your blind spot, which is a subconscious fear and knowing within yourself, is that you can't make it all happen. And something about this also feels very alienating, as though you're a very loyal, loving person, but your blind spot is that you can't experience your greatest moments, your peak success with everybody that you love. It may be very hard for you in life to realize that people have to want things for themselves. And that could be something that you're comfortable saying, but your success hinges on your ability to make it happen for yourself. You are more of an influence when you focus on yourself. You can't bring everybody with you. And in some ways, you hold yourself back by trying to bring people with you. And that's very hard, because community and your core group of loyal, loving people, especially friends and people who you have been through things with, you feel very inclined to want them to be with you and to experience life with you. All the magic, all the wonder, all the fame, you want them there. I'm seeing Ice Cube for some reason. Like, not the frozen water, like the actor, the rapper. I'm seeing Ice Cube. What's his, O'Shea Jackson? Is his first name O'Shea? I grew up with kids whose last name was O'Shea, so I'm not sure if I'm getting that right. O'Shea Jackson. Yeah. So that's what's coming through with this card. And then there's strong feelings of loyalty, love, and I think that your blind spots is, your compassion, but also your pride. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out with the other aspects of this reading. I feel that overall, these cards are just sort of hinting at some very complex themes of you having a very big heart, a very successful road in your life that could include fame, notoriety, and you wanting to bring people who you love with you while experiencing some cold, hard truths about the personal aspect of that kind of success, and the fact that, you know, if our internal world isn't ready, it reflects in our external, and you can't change somebody's internal world for them. They have to do that for themselves. You could throw everything at them externally, but if their internal world isn't in alignment, they can't use what you're giving them to help themselves. They have to work on their internal first. So let's have a look at the guidebook just to see if there's anything that I'm missing. I want to start with Rue. Now pause the video if you want to read all of this yourself. I'm just going to read out key phrases. And we also have this last, it all fits on 2 pages. Wow. So Rue upright, well, no, it's reversed. So we'll talk about the reversed, meaning it's protection, spirit possession, ay Dios mío, parasitic energies, anger, self-criticism, judgment, self-hatred. We have the Sun and Pluto on that card, but this herb is actually a herb. Okay, good, because I called that a herb, didn't I? Okay, so Rue is known as the herb of grace, or the blessed herb. In Spanish, and I apologize for my pronunciation, it is known as ruda, or ruda, and in Greek it is known as rio. I don't know if I'm saying that right, which means to set free. How crazy. So it's found in Europe. During the Middle Ages, Rue was hung in doorways and windows to ward off the evil eye. Hexes and malevolent spirits. Some of its primary uses in ancient Greek and Roman medicine was to stimulate menstrual flow, improve eyesight, alleviate your nerves, and relieve rheumatism. Wow. Priests were said to dip rue. Oh, that's where I've seen it. Dip rue in holy water to bless people and their homes. Many would wear bunches around their necks to ward off evil spells and curses. Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo were said to consume the fresh tops to improve eyesight and increase creativity when immersed in their art. Wow. Okay, so although it is considered native to the Mediterranean, it has been found in historical accounts among the Maya, Aztec, and indigenous peoples of North America. Wow. So it's found in North America and Mesoamerica as well. Now, the guidance of this herb is that it's said to be the herb of angels, granting us the ability to channel the angelic realms. It emanates golden energy like a lion, powerfully protecting and pouring in light into any space that it inhabits. Resilient like the wide array of solar herbs, it grows generously and abundantly, thriving in all kinds of terrain, demonstrating its strong life force and vitality. Rue has landed in your cards today to remind you to protect your aura from lurking and possessive spirits that might be consuming your energy. Don't allow parasitic energy to darken your field, which can create perpetual states of self-criticism, self-doubt, and self-hatred. Wow, big themes. This card is reversed too. So maybe your blind spot is that you do tend to get stuck in cycles of self-criticism, self-doubt, self-hatred, but also I think that you tend to try too hard to help people who are stuck in those cycles, and you tend to give a lot because you empathize and you understand what it's like going through that, but you give a lot to people who really need to try harder for themselves. Now, Rhodiola, number 37. I can't actually remember much about this card. I think it's a Viking plant. There it is. So here's the first page. Pause if you want to read it all yourself. And then we have the other two pages here. Okay. Alrighty. So, reversed, this card contains themes that are overly analytical, unenchanted, unable to express thoughts, emotional blockage, self-absorbed. For centuries, rhodiola or golden root has been used in Russian and Scandinavian medicines. So, increased physical endurance, longevity, energy, productivity, resistance to high altitude, sickness, and to treat fatigue, depression, anemia, impotence, gastrointestinal ailments, infections, and nervous system disorders. Wow. In Asia, it is called the plateau ginseng. Tibetans consider rhodiola root to be a sacred herb. Wow. Himalayan Buddhist monks use the herb to enhance their spiritual power and increase concentration, mental capacity, memory, and endurance. The Vikings used the aromatic roots of rhodiola to fight infections and increase sexual prowess. Interesting. So to this day, mountain villages in Siberia use a bouquet of the sought-after roots prior to marriage to enhance loyalty, birth of healthy children, and increase fertility. Now, the guidance behind this card starts by saying that the unicorn is known as the great protector of the forest. Like rhodiola, some unicorns are said to live near high mountains to this day, nourishing and protecting the wise and ancient forests left. Rhodiola is in your cards to remind you that you are intelligence embodied, intuitive, articulate, and knowledgeable. You exude mastery, wisdom, purity, authority, and wisdom. Wisdom twice. Emotions do not cloud your judgment. Wow. This is about your third eye, and it also says that you need to honor your natural gifts and stand tall. You cut yourself short. That's your blind spot. You are so much more than you allow yourself to see, to be. Does that make sense? You are more than you allow yourself to be. and who you see yourself being. Now, this is pretty common, so let's not make it a big deal. A lot of us see that. I don't want you to feel guilty, but your blind spot seems to be connected to how you see yourself and how you see the people in your life as well. So let's have a look at your blind spots in those specific areas of your life, starting with love. What are my group one? We're not there anymore. We're in group 3, spirit. What are group 3's blind spots in love? Okay, your first card is the Emperor. What are group 3's blind spots in their friendships? When it comes to friendships, what are their blind spots? And what about when it comes to success? What are their blind spots? And lastly, let's have a look at finances. What are group 3's blind spots? Okay, the back of the deck is Justice. Is that all in frame? Kind of. That's a bit better. Okay. Can you see that? That was pretty good. Alrighty. Let's just see if this is all in frame. I gotta check. Okay. It's not too bad. Quick sip of the coffee, sweet souls, and then I will be talking again. So feel free to take note of what you're seeing. Colors to me are very striking. We have a lot of red. We have yellows and oranges everywhere, actually. In all of these cards, there is yellow and orange, and there's even red over here. I am seeing some really striking blues. And it just feels like this Leo energy is still with us, even though in Justice we have Libra, with the Emperor we have Aries. We're still getting that sort of yellow that we saw in these cards come through in all of your tarot cards. Now numbers, we have the number 4 again. We have the number 4 again. We have the number 4 again. We've got 4 times in your reading. We also have the number 7. We had the number 37 over there. And now we have 11 as well. Now, I think that overall, we'll start with love actually. When it comes to your blind spots in love, whenever you are falling in love or pursuing love, interacting with a love interest, your blind spots are reflected in the way that you take control of the situation. You tend to have this authoritative energy in love especially, and it can cause disharmony in your relationships. It can cause an imbalance where you are trying to lead, you're trying to, again, take control, and it's at the expense of the other person's opinions or the other person's initiative and action. So you tend to try to take control and lead. Now, the other side of this is you are aware of the fact that you have this dominant energy at times. And so when you soften yourself and you try to be less dominant, it seems to create a space in which some of your love interests are too dominant in the wrong ways, or you idealize their dominance in a way that isn't actually helpful. So it could be that a lot of your love interests have a really strong energy to them. They have a really dominant energy that you appreciate. You may even seek people who have this energy, but that doesn't mean that they're an ideal partner. With Justice reversed at the back of the deck, your blind spots overall involve you overcompensating And in love, it feels like you either overcompensate for your lover's deficits in how they don't quite meet compatibility markers, and then you try to do more to make the relationship more compatible, or you try to do less to try to make the relationship more compatible. But really what Spirit's saying is your biggest blind spot in love is that you do too much, when really you should just call it what it is. And you've got to be careful about being too strict and authoritative to the point where it feels like you're parenting your lovers. It feels like you're here trying to sort of make them a better person, when really you're just supposed to be their partner. You're just supposed to be their lover. You have this interesting dynamic where it's hard for you to have balanced partnerships, balanced relationships. You're either always leading them or you want to learn from them. So it doesn't feel balanced. It feels like one person is outweighing the other person's opinions or judgment, or there's like an imbalance in authority. So you're not always on the same page. Now, this blind spot does affect the nature of your relationships, because you can't have it both ways. You can either have a dynamic that is based on mentorship, in which there is an authority figure in your relationship, and somebody else is more of like the pupil. They're not really leading, they're not allowed to make decisions. But as soon as you want to take off your authoritative hat, as soon as you don't want to be the leader, you can't expect that person to suddenly step up when you've shown them that you're the one that's leading this. So that's why this is a blind spot, because it can't just be turned on and off. It's a conditioning within your romantic life, and it's something that in some cases really causes tension in your relationships. It causes a lot of criticism. It makes you feel like you have really criticizing opinions of them, and they can feel like they're just not able to do enough, be enough, no matter what they try. And on the other hand, it can make you feel like you're always starting arguments, when really like you're just like, well, this is like what I'm like. So it is a blind spot because it can lead to bigger issues, but it is also something that you're subconsciously aware of. And it's something that will continue to come up as well in your romantic connections. So that is what I'm seeing when it comes to love. Next, let's have a look at friendships. Your blind spots in friendship seem to be about the same thing, sort of disharmony and this imbalance. But we're seeing the Four of Wands reversed. So this to me feels like some sort of disharmony in the way that you show up for each other, in the way that you support each other, in the way that you're expected to give to each other, to treat each other. And look, the Four of Wands to me is about having a strong foundation with your community. It's about feeling supported, seen, and celebrated by the people in your life. With this card reversed, your friends don't always feel seen, supported, and celebrated by you. They sometimes feel like they're not included in your life, in your journey, and it could be for good reason. We've seen in these two cards that one of your biggest blind spots is about you learning how to take care of yourself, how to put your pride to the side, and how to be more discerning about how much you help other people, because you can't do the work for them. When it comes to internal stuff, they've got to figure it out. But I think that you keep people in your life for a long time who even have feelings of resentment towards you. Some of your friends are genuinely resenting the fact that they're not on the same page as you. They're not living the same life as you. They can't be close to you. And they resent the circumstances, or they resent the contracts, the relationships that you've entered and signed that have caused these big changes in your lives and in your circumstances. So you have friends in your life who really feel very disconnected to who you are and to the life that you're living, because they feel like you've made choices that have separated them from you. And again, I feel like they at times may resent you for that, but they may also resent your contracts. They may also resent your marriage. They may resent the circumstances and the fact that they can't go with you on this journey. But it does feel like this Four of Wands reversed is a reflection of energetic separation. Your blind spots are that you may keep friends in your life for a long time who don't actually get to go with you, who don't get to move with you, who don't get to travel with you, who don't get to be close to you. They're supporting you from a distance, but they don't feel included. And it could be vice versa, sweet soul. You could be feeling that way too. You could have friends who are famous and you feel like, goodness, I'm just not a part of their world. You could feel like you have friends that lead very exciting, dynamic lifestyles where they're constantly traveling and meeting crazy people. And you're like, geez, I'm just not a part of their world. So there is this feeling of this being a blind spot because it causes instability in those connections. And it causes a difference of opinion. You and your friends tend to have very different opinions about some pretty core beliefs. And you may find ways to make it work, but it ultimately feels like your friends end up being very, very different to you, living very differently to you, and just believing in different things than what you do. And it's hard to understand each other. It can be hard to respect each other's choices because they're looking at you going, what? I don't even understand why you would do that. And you're looking at them going, well, I don't understand why you would do that. So there's a key disconnect here on some very core and arguably important opinions, actions, and decisions. Now, this is a major blind spot, but I do think that it comes down to these two themes again. There's something about your journey in this life that just really tests and challenges your loyalty, your values, your pride, and your sense of self. For some reason, you have to learn to really put yourself first. You can't bring everybody with you. That's just not the way your life was designed. And so I can't even begin to imagine how that's truly affected your friends, let alone your romantic relationships. But I do want to move on because we might get more answers here. Let's have a look at what your blind spots are in success. So this is when you're pursuing success, when you're working towards success, or when you're planning for success. Anything to do with your idea of success. Your blind spots are centered around your, I want to say courage, but this is also about your personal challenges, your personal battles with adversity. Now, a lot of your journey feels very independent. You feel very like this is an independent energy, this is an independent energy, this reversed feels like an isolated energy, this is an isolated energy. That's very independent energy, and this is very independent. Like you're just coming across as a bit of a lone wolf, as someone who does a lot by themselves, for themselves. So your journey to success is very much the same. A blind spot that you have is, it has to do with your courage. It has to do with your drive, your willingness to overcome. And I don't think this is a real blind spot. Like, I'm having a hard time. I kind of want to clarify, Spirit, what is this blind spot for them? What is this Seven of Wands adversity card about? How is this a blind spot towards their success? For group 3. Okay, we have the King of Cups. Okay. So, and we have the Four of Swords at the back of the deck. When it comes to success, it feels like your blind spot is about how much you're willing to try. I think that you are someone who gets put in a lot of fortunate situations, but I also think that you are someone who actively seeks opportunity. You actively seek success, and you have the ability to experience many layers of success. Right when you think you've reached your peak, the next level is revealed to you, and you realize at a very young age that, oh my gosh, the opportunities are limitless. There's so much out there for me. And so your blind spot has to do with your willingness to make this happen energetically, having the courage to do it, having the drive to do it, being able to overcome your personal insecurities, your personal adversities. There's a lot of battling that people don't see. It's an internal battle of overcoming your own internal doubt, criticism, which we saw over here. But it's also about overcoming what you think other people are expecting of you. And in some situations, when you're gunning for your success, your mind is telling you that the people around you who are cheering you on don't want you to be successful. Your mind is telling you that this plan is flawed because you're an underdog and people like you don't get to experience that kind of success. And so to be most successful, you have to ultimately be fighting off demons you've created for yourself. And you have to overcome a lot of internal struggles, ideas, and energetic battles before you even get to the effort part. Does that make sense? Like, there's a lot going on for you, and you are somebody who maybe statistically shouldn't be successful. So you defy a lot of odds. Your blind spots on your journey to success is that you are an underdog. You are somebody who shouldn't be successful by any means. And so once you get that out of your head, once you see that as a badge of honor and recognize that I'm not going to let that stop me, I'm going to be hungrier now because I'm an underdog. I'm going to be more determined now because people may expect me to fail. And I'm going to continue to push through any of my struggles because I'm statistically not expected to succeed. If you can really channel that, your success is limitless in this lifetime. And you are somebody with the King of Cups that develops an immense amount of emotional maturity. You are somebody who has a very close relationship to themselves. You know yourself inside and out. You've had to confront your fears, your insecurities, your demons, your challenges, your weaknesses, your strengths. You've had to develop new strengths. You've accidentally developed new weaknesses, new fears, and then you've had to overcome those. So really, this blind spot isn't something that you don't know about. It's something that you actively work on as you continue to become successful. And it helps you in all areas of your life, because we're seeing emotional success here. We're seeing mental evaluation here. So the ways in which you measure success is bigger than material success. It's bigger than a number in your bank account. It has to do with having a very close and strong relationship to self that makes you a very emotionally mature and understanding and aware person in other people's lives. And it also has to do with you asking big questions and constantly reflecting and evaluating on who you are, on what you're doing, and on whether that is the best thing that you can do. So a lot of success is expected to come your way because of this blind spot that you're actually actively working on. Now, over here, we have your finances to help kind of summarize this reading. We already had a look at how in love you have a very dominant energy, and at times when you try to soften that energy, it doesn't always work out because your love interests get confused and they're like, well, I don't know how to fit in now. You've wanted me to let you take the lead. Now that you're expecting me to lead, I don't know where I fit in. When it comes to friendships, we've seen how your friends often feel disconnected from your life. They often feel like they're at a distance to you and they struggle to fit into your lifestyle. They don't feel included in some of those key milestones, those big moments, and they often feel like the choices that you make cause your friendships to go cold and they don't get to be as important as they once were. When it comes to success, we can see how you're somebody who is expected to experience a lot of success, but you have to be able to overcome your inner challenges, your inner struggles first. And you have to be able to identify how you're an underdog, and you will continue to develop a process of constantly reflecting and evaluating on who you are, what you're doing, and how you can be better, which allows you to become a very emotionally intelligent and mature person who is very hard to keep down. But when it comes to your finances, your biggest blind spot is in knowing when not to do something. So the Four of Swords is a card of inaction. When it comes to the way that you handle finances, that you interact with finances, the ways that you make money and spend money, your main blind spot is not what you're doing, it's more about what you're not doing. And this is a classic case of how can you do something you don't even know about? What you should be doing is asking more questions. And this is how this Justice card relates to your finances, because y'all need to be asking professionals for more advice. Y'all need to be outsourcing some of this heavy lifting in your finances to a professional, using an accountant or getting financial advice from a financial advisor, employing a broker, or just working with better partners, better businesses, and building meaningful relationships that can promote successful financial outcomes. When it comes to how you spend your money, you should be more aware of where your money is going. And when things get too sort of heated over here, when your road to success feels very energetically demanding, you tend to pay less attention to where your money is going. And so your relationship to money feels very relaxed, very secondary. It's not your motivator. It's a symptom that you're on the right path. When you cash in a big check or when you see a large number in your account, it makes you feel like you're doing well. But the truth is, you need to pay more attention to where that money is coming from and where it's going to. Because the Four of Swords as a blind spot means that in some ways you're not doing enough, and in other ways you're just not paying enough attention. So I do think that the ways in which you make money in this lifetime may happen in very short-term settings where you need to rethink a better system, of a better sense of process, where you need to rethink how you could be working smarter, not harder, how you could be investing it, and how you could get the right advice or the right partnership going with your money. Now, it also feels like a relationship in your life makes you reevaluate your finances, either because you rely on them or they rely on you financially. And it ends up causing major revelations about your blind spots in your finances, because through a joint account with this Justice card reversed, somebody could be taking more than what you were expecting them to. And you could be getting less than what you were contractually obligated to. So legally, there are blind spots in your finances. Professionally, there are blind spots in your finances. And you should constantly check where your money's going and what it is actually going towards in terms of your future. I know that as somebody who has such a colorful description of the word success, money isn't your only way of determining success, but there are key experiences in your life where people take advantage of this blind spot and people mismanage what you've been working hard towards. So that is what I'm seeing. Is there any way I can summarize this in a helpful way, or do I just leave it there? Spirit, is there any advice to leave them with before we go into the extended reading? Oh, here we go. For my group 3s. Oh my days, yeah. It was supposed to be lighthearted. First of all, High Priestess. Let's look at this. We got Pisces and Capricorn here. The Devil and the High Priestess are major arcana for a reason. They both carry very specific messages. And the High Priestess, similar to my last message, is encouraging you to be discerning, to draw upon your own wisdom, to trust how you feel and what you know. Your intuition is a feeling, but it is often demeaned by your heart and your head. So to really tap into your intuitive knowing, you have to address what your heart is saying, and you have to try to navigate the thoughts that your head is projecting. Now, with that being said, your blind spots, sweet souls, are lifetimes of lessons. You aren't expected to take everything that I've said in this reading and change your whole life in the next hour, in the next day, in the next year. These are blind spots that develop and progress, and you become more aware of them throughout your life. So the High Priestess is encouraging you to use this reading with discernment and to apply it where you can, as you can. Don't feel like you need to radically change every part of who you are and what your life is currently becoming. Apply it where you can, when you can, and trust that you have all the information you need already. I really think that this card is encouraging you to continue to do what you feel is right in your journey, in your relationships, and on your road to success. This card is also encouraging you to take some time off from other people like me telling you what to do and telling you about yourself, and just reflect. Write some things down in your journal. You know, you have enough awareness and wisdom to be able to lead your life forward right now. And if you are still feeling a bit confused or uncertain, then just pause, take some time. The high priestess isn't rushing because the high priestess knows that everything happens exactly when it is meant to. So trust that your process is happening exactly as it is meant to, and you will feel compelled, empowered, and motivated to act when you need to. If you don't feel that way, then don't force it to be that way. Now, the Devil card brings a heavier meaning to the end of your reading. We did talk about your blind spots for a reason. A relationship in your life, either romantic or friendship, is being highlighted as one that needs to be immediately reviewed. It is really important that you consider ways in which people take advantage of your blind spots, because you can get busy, because you can get very focused on your future, and you can get a little complacent in your relationships, in your friendships, and in the certain dynamic of. Okay, group 3, I'm gonna have to wrap up because I got interrupted by a notification on my phone that says my storage is too full. I love to film on my phone nowadays so I can edit on the go, and yeah, it's a sign that I was rambling way too much for you. I have more storage now, but I don't want to risk it. I don't want to get too carried away talking. I didn't realize I've already been talking for 50 minutes. We've got to wrap it up. But this Devil card is a point of reflection based on what we covered in this YouTube reading. You know now what your blind spots are in general and how that affects your love life, your friendships, your success, and your finances. Reflect on how these blind spots are affecting your relationships and how they may be enabling patterns of behavior that are unhelpful, that are unhealthy, and that are going to keep you trapped rather than liberate you to move forward. Consider how your blind spots in some way are holding you back. And you are somebody who reflects all the time, so this may not be a big deal, but it is the message that Spirit chose to end your reading on. That is what I'm seeing for you. I'm going to take this into your extended reading now, where we will have a look at how people in your life see and use your blind spots, for better or for worse. We're going to have a look at your lovers, your family, your colleagues, your friends, the children in your life, your clients, and your customers. Now, this could be a helpful way of filling in some of those key reflective questions that I just left you with. And if you need to extend your reading, or if you want to extend your reading with me, the link is in the description box or the pinned comment below. That link takes you to my website. I encourage you to find your extended reading before you click on something and buy it. Double check. Make sure you've clicked on Group 3's Blind Spots reading. Read the description, read the title, check the thumbnail, and make sure you're in the right place before you spend any of your hard-earned money. Thank you so much, Group 3, for your time, your energy, and your patience. I appreciate you for letting me read for you, for letting me be a part of your journey. If this is where we're parting ways, I wish you peace, prosperity, abundance, happiness, health, wealth, success, and joy on your journey ahead. Bye.